0-0. Are you kidding me?
There's one there. It's a marble.
It's a Mao.
Emperor.
Ah, cool. Saturday afternoon, 5 o'clock. I'm officially unemployed as of today, and it's probably the only time I'm allowed to sit in this chair on the bridge and enjoy a beer. Welcome to the Super Yacht Bridge Tour. Roll the intro.
Yo, where you at? Yeah, I'm already down here.
Let's get it going.
To the wheelhouse.
Also, this is like one of those official beers that somebody bought me when they bought my PDF. That's linked down below. So, cheers. Thank you very much. Right, let's crack into it. In the yacht series coming up, you will see in quite a few episodes, I'm in this bridge doing our watch, like 3 hours on, 3 hours off, where we sort of swap around with the captain. It's between the captain and myself, and we always have one other person with us. So I'm going to walk you around through the bridge now, show you the instruments that we have, the instruments that we have access to, or some of them anyway, and go from there. Okay, so 3 screens over here, 3 monitors. Each one of these can be changed and sort of integrated into each other. These are just monitors. So if I go into home, you can see I can access sort of all the same ones, or all different ones on these 3 screens. 2 cameras. Let me show you sort of what it is that we end up looking at most when we're underway. Between these 2 monitors, we usually have the wind over here. So on the bottom right hand corner, you can see it's blowing 2 knots at 171 degrees. And then in the center, it'll sort of tell you what the weather's doing relative to the boat. So it's the angle that the wind's hitting you. And that's sort of what we spend a lot of time looking at here. This is our track targets. What our track targets are is basically all the other boats that are around there that have AIS. That allows us to basically see how far they are from us and how soon they will intersect. Over here it says CPA. That is the closest point of approach. So normally that'll say 300 meters or 1 nautical mile or 5 nautical miles, depending on how far that boat will be to the closest point of approach to us. So that sort of allows us to go, okay, there's a boat, like just over here it shows there's a boat on our radar that will be able to then be linked up to there, telling us the closest point of approach that that vessel will come in contact with us. Okay, so those are the big things that we look at when it comes to these 2 monitors. The radar, we have 2 radars, sort of one big one and one small one, different kilowattages, different outputs. And the way that we normally have that is we can have, say, 1 radar here. Right now we've got 2, but we can have 1 radar here, 1 radar here, the small one here, the big one there, or vice versa. And if they don't have AIS, which shows that that's a boat, it'll just sort of make like a little blimp on the screen, and then you know it's probably a boat or a buoy or something like that. The main one that we normally end up having on is the chart. So this chart's awesome, really easy access with touchscreen. We can use touchscreen or we can use the toggle over here. But basically we use these to make waypoints and routes. So you'll see on the screen there's an X, which is our final waypoint. If we zoom out, you'll be able to see the entire route that we took from, where's this from? This is from the Balearics, so from Palma Mallorca, and our entire route down. And sort of as we start ticking off the marks, just like a GPS, you'll be able to see over here, it says like the next waypoint, when you'll be making a turn, and the direction and stuff like that. So once again, overview, we've got the radars, we've got the chart, and then we can have any other sort of weather information showing us how far we're off target, or the cameras. Sort of up to you to decide what you want to have on there. This is something we hopefully never really have to use. This is emergency steering, so if our main steering fails, then we can sort of individually take control of each rudder on port and starboard. Something we've never had to use before, something I hope we never have to use, but that's that. Aircon and heating, so we'll move away from that, literally just aircon and heating system. This boat has 0-speed stabilizers, so when we're on anchor, there are stabilizers on each side of the boat, so as the boat sways, they will counteract the sway of the vessel and try and keep the boat as sort of level as possible. We use these not only when we're at anchor, but when we're traveling as well. It just sort of stops the boat from having a large amount of roll. Basically what they are, two huge fins on either side of the boat that just kind of counteract and keep the boat as level as possible. This allows us to sort of select how bad the sea is, what we need to change. When it comes to how bad the weather really is, we can sort of adjust the stabilizers for just being quick. These panels aren't on right now. This is port engine. We've got the same over here, which is a starboard engine. This just shows RPM, alarms, and just kind of shows what looks like a rev counter. It just shows a rev counter, basically. Believe it or not, this toggle is what we use mainly for steering. I think a lot of people think you drive with a steering wheel. We almost never use the steering wheel unless we are pretty much in port, or we are driving really slowly, or in a very confined space. The captain will use this, but generally speaking, we've got our waypoint set up on the screen, and all we do is adjust a couple of degrees to port or a couple of degrees to starboard to sort of follow that waypoint. You never really have to use this. It's a lot more manual driving, where the autopilot is designed sort of just to follow a track and a degree, and it just sort of makes life a lot easier. Bow thruster over to port, over to starboard if you move it that way. If I touch that now, it'll start up the generator, but basically this obviously the captain uses the most when we are coming into dock and you need to get the boat sort of in a very tight position like we're in now. Otherwise you never normally use the bow thrusters. This boat does not have a stern thruster. Normally you could then move the boat sort of side to side. This boat takes a little bit more of an actual driving experience, which is why I take my hat off to the captain, because he's awesome at it. When I released that video about a super yacht in really bad weather, everybody kept asking why the keys are on the underside, why is the stop start there. The keys underneath, which I'll show you in a second, are just the ignition. The start and the stop buttons are on top of the console. Yeah, that just might clarify a little bit to everybody that wondered why. These were over here, they are just the ignition switches, and to the guy that suggested plexiglass, thank you very much. We have actually put that in. So I have had somebody ask me why sometimes just the starboard throttle is ahead on my videos. Basically what happens is when we're in a space like this, yes, you can click forward and click back and you need to use each individual engine, but when you're out at sea, you want those engines to be at exactly the same RPM. So the RPM would be displayed on these two monitors over here. You want them to be exactly the same, and to try and move this to get it to exactly that RPM is pretty difficult. So what happens is once we're out at sea, we'll move them forward, and then you can sync the two engines together so that you do not need to have both throttles forward. You just have one forward and you're controlling both the engines and the RPM with just one lever. So that's what's going on there. Horn for fog signals and manual at will, and our windscreen wipers for syncing and washing and all that. That's happening over there. Two radios. Why the hell would you need two radios? Channel 16 is sort of the international emergency stations. Everybody's on channel 16 when it comes to looking for a boat or calling a boat. So you'll always pretty much have one VHF on 16 and one if you want to talk to another ship. So if somebody calls you and goes, Motor Yacht I, channel 16, this is whatever. They will then ask you to go to another channel, and you'll sort of switch between the two and be able to talk, and that's why you got two. That was a terrible reasoning as to why you got two, but basically one always stays on 16, the other one can be ship to ship or to the tender or whatever. A whole bunch of different flags. A really good example, which is not here, it's on that side because we've got a whole bunch of them. Whenever you're fueling, use the Bravo flag, the red one, so it's a good example of it. We will then take the Bravo flag, which is on that side, up and out and put it on top so that the vessels around us know that we are in fact fueling, and they're aware that we are taking in sort of dangerous flammable liquids. But each individual flag has its own meaning.
Binos.
Always a really good pair of binos. These are awesome. I think they're like €1,000. Not these ones, but the other ones anyway. compass capabilities with a red light. Red light. Speaking of red light, the biggest gripe we have with this bloody entire system, and this is not a San Lorenzo thing, this is a Raymarine problem. We do not have red backlit screens. So you'll see, and in fact I'll link a video now after this, where Bex and I are trying to use the red lights that San Lorenzo did put in. Because there's not a red backlit system, it gets very, very, very bright in here, and the only way that we have to be able to turn this into night mode is to turn the screen brightness down. That is shocking. What San Lorenzo then went and did was add in the red lights. Let me just show you the clip. I have no idea how this is supposed to be okay. These lights, the red ones, red's supposed to not affect your night vision, but this is just rough. This is hectic. This is why we've added like all the cellophane to the top of the screens, because then the light from the screens doesn't affect us as much. But this is supposed to be San Lorenzo's version of a red backlit screen, and it looks as rough as it does on this camera right now. It's just like... On any previous vessels I've been on, there's always a red backlit system which changes it into night mode. In fact, this one does allow you to do it, and I can show you. Menu, display settings, colors, red, black. So that is how everything should be done, but only this bloody panel allows you to do it. Why red? Why does red make such a difference? It's the only color that really does not affect your night vision. So any other lights, even a red bright light, doesn't affect your night vision as much as any other lights. So usually speaking, you'll have all your instruments that red black, and it really doesn't affect you at night. You really need to be able to see outside. More importantly than anything, clear navigational aid with your eyes, and they always seem to put lights everywhere. This thing lights up, the bloody radio you can't dim, and you got phones in here and everything goes. It's just ridiculous. So we really wish Raymarine had done that, but maybe on the next boat. A big positive of Raymarine is that they are trying to sort of be really innovative. So the new system of Raymarine actually allows you to pilot a drone, like a DJI drone, from your console here. You can launch it from out there and fly everything with the monitors, and that's cool. Like, I really appreciate that. But at the end of the day, those are just gimmicks and toys. Little things like red light backlights and stuff like that, extra instruments, is obviously what we care about most. But that's the system we have. These are all the instruments we've got. We do have one infrared camera, which I can't access now. So if somebody falls overboard, we're actually able to have like night vision of seeing where people are. Our bridge is to somewhat degree quite simple. It's got all the instruments you need. Did forget one panel. This panel over here shows our daily fuel tank, our aft and forward fuel tanks. They're quite low at the moment because we've just done a big passage. And our water tank sludge is poop, and black grey water, which is normally stuff from the showers and the sinks and all that sort of stuff. So we have access to portholes, we have access to a variety of just different systems and alarms, bilges. So everything we hear when it comes to the VAC system and the nav lights and all that is controlled from this panel, and this is all instruments for navigational aid. Found making this video quite a challenge, to be honest, because we're not out at sea at the moment, so I can't really show you how the radars work and how all the instruments work, but I really do hope that it gives you some sort of sense of the type of instruments that we have on the boat and how we use them for navigational aid. I'm sure I've missed out on a couple of things, and I'm totally happy for you guys to comment down below. You know, obviously the obvious things like speed of ground and our RPM and everything like that is all displayed on here. Water temperature, the time, our trip and the log, when the sunset is, when the sunrise is, all of those little gimmicks and stuff like that are all on these instruments. I'm just not going to spend too much time showing you that, but at the same time, I hope this answered a lot of your questions for a quick bridge tour, and thank you so much for whoever it was that commented wanting to see it. I always read your comments and I always appreciate them, so thank you so much. Smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you on the next video.